Welcome to episode 26 of the Just One End podcast. My name is Elizabeth Zimmerman, also known as Liz. You can find me on Instagram at Just One End podcast and on Ravelry as Algebrina. I'm out of practice again. What is next? I'm coming to you from Cochranville, Pennsylvania, where I live with my husband Greg and our two children, Eric and Tilda. Today is Monday, November 12th. It is the observation of Veterans Day here in the States. Technically, Veterans Day is the 11th, which was yesterday, but since it fell on a Sunday, it is observed by the government and whatnot on Monday, which of course means that I am off today because I work for a bank and we close at every opportunity. So, so since I'm off today, I thought I would record a podcast episode. It has been a little while since my last episode. Sorry, I know that I took a really long break and then recorded one, and now I took a bit more of a break. I think it's probably been 4 weeks, so I should have at least had one more episode in between, but life gets busy, and sometimes it just doesn't happen. But there is a lot that has happened since my last episode, so I'll talk through, what's been going on. First of all, obviously, the next thing happening after my last episode was Rhinebeck, which I did go to, and I will have a bit of a recap for, but we'll save that for the end. So other than that, we did have a bonus track performance soon after that. I was going to record the performance, and I was going to put in some clips here, and, it's also a chance for us to review how it went and, make notes for ourselves for next time. And I was all set up to record. I had it all set up. I started the recording, 15 minutes before because we were waiting off stage while people filed in and all that. And then we performed. And then afterwards, I went to check the recording and my memory card filled up. So I caught 15 minutes of people talking and chatting as we were about to get on stage. I got us getting on stage, and then we're getting ready to sing, and it cuts out. So I have not a single note of the performance, which is a shame because it was actually one of our better performances. Like, it really felt like it went really well. So, I was looking forward to watching how it actually went, from the audience perspective. And yeah, no recording. But that's okay. We do have a couple of other shows coming up. It's Christmas time. So we have our second annual Christmas concert that we're doing, or holiday concert. We're calling it Acapella Holiday, which we do with the Chromatics, which is another acapella group in the DC area. So I'll put actually the information up here. So if anybody's local or would really like to make a drive out to Maryland, we're having that on December 8th, which is the second Saturday in December. And then the week after that, we're going to the Chromatics Home Turf and performing with them at their annual show. So those will be back-to-back performances, a week apart in December. So we are gearing up for Christmas, practicing all of our Christmas repertoire, which is always really fun. I love getting into the Christmas music each year. So that's bonus track stuff going on. After that, we had Halloween. I always take off the day of Halloween because then it's less stressful for me. I don't usually decorate ahead of time, mostly just because I don't get around to it or I forget. So on Halloween day, I got the house decorated, was ready for trick-or-treaters to come. We are in a neighborhood that is a lot of houses very close together, and their surrounding area is very rural. So a lot of people like to come to our neighborhood to trick-or-treat, including my family. All of my siblings and their kids come up on Halloween night too and trick-or-treat from our house. So I kept a running count this year. I think we ended up with 362 in the end, and that's just over about 2 hours. That from like 6 to 8. That's the trick-or-treaters we had. so it gets super busy, but it's always a lot of fun. So we had that. And my favorite decoration that I have is this giant inflatable scarecrow with a pumpkin head. He is 12 feet tall. And inflatables are super easy decorations to put up because you just, plug them in and tie them down and you're good to go. So he's always a big hit. And then just last week, Tilda had her birthday. She turned 4. She had a fun birthday. She got princess dresses and all sorts of girly stuff. She definitely got the girly streak. I don't know where it came from, but she loves fingernail polish and pink and glitter and all that. So she had a fun birthday. And then last night we had the birthday celebration that my extended family does. Since there's so many of us, we do like one birthday celebration per month. There's nobody in October, and we somehow missed September. So we had September and November birthdays, which means my mom and Tilda, who have the same birthday, my sister, who is in September, my dad, who is in September, my older brother and my younger sister are both in November, and then my older brother's, one of his sons is in November. So we were celebrating 7 birthdays last month. And that coincided with when we had scheduled our annual YouTube night. And I think I've talked about this before, so if you've heard it, just bear with me. What we do is everybody in the family submits about 10 minutes worth of videos, whether that's 1 video or 3 videos, that you find on YouTube, and we put them all into a playlist. And then we get together and we watch that playlist, which it's like an organized version of going down a click hole of watching YouTube videos with your friends, where you're like, oh, have you seen this one? It's hilarious. And you look it up and watch it, and then you watch more. So so it's like that. And we do it at least once a year. We actually have been trying to do this one since June, but with so many people in my family, it's sometimes hard to coordinate everyone's schedule, because it takes like 3 or 4 hours to watch the videos themselves. So it's a big block of time that we have to set apart for this event. So we finally did have that scheduled last night. I'll put links to the videos that I submitted below. They're just fun little videos that we find. So that's always a lot of fun. So we have that going on. And that's really it, personally wise, that I've been up to. I have been doing quite a bit of crafting, which is always nice. I seem to be fully out of my slump that I had hit a couple of months ago. Maybe not entirely, like I haven't been knitting in the car, so it seems like I'm not quite where I'm like, oh, I want to be knitting all the time. But I think I'll get there, because I've got a couple of projects that I'm really excited about working on coming up when I finish some of the stuff that I'm working on now. So we'll see. We'll get there. Okay, finished objects. I do have a couple to share. 2 of them are hats. So I am hosting the Just One N Hat Along. This is our 2nd annual Hat Along. Last month we did it for the whole month of October. This month I started it late, and I haven't been talking about it much, so I'm even extending it further. So it's going to go through the end of November. Any hats that you knit from October 1st through November eligible. Check out the Ravelry thread. I'll put the links below, and any hats you finish, just put them in. The prize is going to be an ebook of the Barrow collection, which is a collection of patterns designed by Irina Lawrence, who's a friend of mine who co-owns the Flying Fibers yarn store that I talk about all the time, because I love them and they're one of my closest yarn stores. So that's going to be the prize, and I don't know, all the details are in the Ravelry thread. So if you want to check those out, link will be below. But my 2 finished objects that I have for that hat along, the first one, oops, stuff is falling everywhere. The first one is the Gretna hat. If you remember my green sweater that I was knitting, I think I knit it this summer. Or in the spring, but I'll put a picture in. So it's the Gretna jumper. It was designed by Rachel Brockman, using Yorkshire Medley yarn, which is the yarn that Jerry and Irina dye for their store. It is a mix of Blueface Leicester and Wensleydale, 50-50. It's a really beautiful yarn. I love working with it. It's so warm. It's a little rustic, but not terribly itchy, which is always nice. And it's a really great yarn. So I knit the Gretna jumper, and then Rachel just released the Gretna hat. She is also doing a hat along, so I'll try and put the link for that as well. So if you want to knit the Gretna hat, you can. So this is the Gretna hat. You can see there's the cables in it. You can tell if you recognize the Gretna jumper. It's the same cable pattern, so it complements that well. I'll go ahead and put it on. Here we go. I did like an old school pom-pom. Just I took some extra yarn and made a pom-pom. It's kind of loose. It's not super bunchy, but I like it. So that's what I stuck with. So the yarn, like I said, it's Yorkshire Medley. It is Busby Harvest. The yellow mustardy color is Busby Harvest. It's a DK weight yarn. So it's 262 yards in a 100-gram ball. Like I said, it's Blueface Leicester and Wensleydale. Yeah, I think that's all to say about it. So, like I said, I love this yarn. I really like the hat. It's going to be super warm. And cables are just fun. It's such a fun pattern to knit, especially if you love cables. It's just got some really cool elements that I hadn't done in a lot of cable patterns. Like there's some, especially in this section here, there's a really cool technique that's done to get those little eyelet looking things. So if you like cables, it's a great pattern. This and the jumper, they're both lots of fun to do. So that is my first finished object. And then my second finished object is a worm hat. So I've done the worm hat before. It's actually the hat that I did for the knit along last year. So this is it. This one I put a hot pink pom-pom on, which I just love. It's a lot of fun. Let's see. I do have an end that I didn't weave in there, so it's hanging out. So let me put this one on too. There we go. So there's my end. I just need to trim it shorter. I'm not even going to weave it in. I'll just leave it hanging out at the top. Just needs to be shorter. So the yarn that I used, I pulled something from my stash. This is Castaway DK. Oh, sorry. It's by Stranded Dye Works. The base is Castaway DK, which is her DK weight base. It's 100% superwash merino. The colorway is Naive Watercolor, which I think is the perfect description for this yarn. It definitely reminds me of watercolor, and here's what I have left. So it's got some really fun colors in it, and I love that the hot pink complemented it so perfectly because it's just fun. So, so like I said, it's the worm hat. I've knit a worm hat before. My favorite thing to do with the worm hat, because it's knit and reverse stockinette, or it's stockinette and reverse stockinette in bumps. Rather than doing purl rounds, I do a German short row to turn my work, and then I do knit rounds and I knit it inside out. And then I just do that again when I get back to the knit round. I just flip it again and keep going. So I do a lot of back and forth, and it just stays knitting. It does make a bit of like a line here at the back. I don't know if that'll come through. You can see it in person. Oh, there it is. Like you can see that's where I turned it, but I don't care. I just put that at the back. I also did change how I did the decreases because I didn't like how it just kind of bunched in the written pattern. So I'll take off the pom-pom real quick because I haven't actually secured this. I've just kind of tied it on. Okay. So when I finished the hat, I did kind of like a square decrease. Like I split it into 4 stitches and then just did a decrease on either side of the marker to get it down to the edge. So it gives it a little bit better of a shape, I think. But it's personal preference. You can do whatever decreases you want. You can do the one that's written. I just didn't like how it was kind of like bunchy. Like it looked more like that in the last version. But yeah, so the pom-pom I got at Frame and Fiber. Paige had just posted on Instagram that she got a shipment in, and I was like, oh, that's perfect. And I was having a lazy Sunday, and she posted that she was open that day also, so I decided that I was going to go up and hang out in it with her, which I did last week, and picked up a pom-pom. So, so that is my finished hat number 2. And I think I finished talking about everything about it. So, oh, one thing I will mention, I'm pretty sure that the pattern calls for a sport weight. This is a DK, so it's a little bit heavier. I also know that last time I knit it, it was really slouchy, and I didn't want it as slouchy this time. So I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think there's 10 bump repeats you're supposed to do in the pattern, and I kept mine at 8, and I started decreasing before the 8th. I think I started decreasing on the 7th bump. So I did make mine a little bit smaller this time, which, to each their own. That's what I love about patterns is they're guidelines. You can make whatever modifications you want to. And I do love knitting the worm hat. I think I'll probably still end up knitting a couple more. If I do them in a fingering weight, I'll modify things even more, cast on a couple more stitches and maybe do more repeats. I don't know. But it's a great pattern. It's a great go-to hat pattern. Yeah. I also have a finished sweater. So this was almost done on my last episode. I was still working on the sleeves. And I did finish it in time for Rhinebeck. So this is the Bloomsbury sweater. This is the front. And the cable goes all the way down the sleeve. And then on the back, there's, or not cable, lace. There's lace that goes all the way down the middle of the back. So I did finish it in time for Rhinebeck. I was blocking it on the way to Rhinebeck. I set it out to block, I think 2 nights before, and it wasn't quite dry by the time I needed to leave. So I took my AstroTurf that I use for blocking, and I laid it out in the back of my car and and drove with my sweater still blocking. And it really only did need those extra 6 to 8 hours that I had plenty of time for because of the drive and then just doing needles up and stuff. I didn't need the sweater until the next day anyway. So it got blocked on the go. So I did wear it to Rhinebeck. I'll put in a picture of where I was wearing it. I did not like the length. I decided that it needed a couple of more inches. So after I got home, I ripped back to the start of the ribbing at the hem, and I knit a couple more inches. I had a whole skein left, so you can really tell because where I've added hasn't been blocked yet, and that's my next step. So right here is where it used to, that's where the lace part ended, and then I had the ribbing after that. Now I added a couple more inches of the main body with the lace, and then added the ribbing on again. So you can see it's probably a good, 6+ inches longer, which is what I was going for. I had a whole skein of yarn left, so I knew I had plenty of yarn to add the length. Even if I hadn't, what I ripped out, I could have reused, which fortunately I didn't need to because I kind of threw it away accidentally before I thought, oh, I should really keep that. Anyway, so I knit it. I did the ribbing. I didn't get the ribbing quite down to where I wanted to, but I was running out of yarn, so I had to bind off. And I lost at Yarn Chicken. But then I realized that when I did the ribbing, I didn't go down a needle size, which I was supposed to. So I ripped back again to the end of the new lace section. And then I redid the ribbing in the smaller needle size, and that got me to the point where I wanted to be binding off, and then I won at Yarn Chicken this time. So I had this much yarn left. So fortunately, it's exactly the length that I wanted. I am going to go ahead and get that blocked. I'm actually planning to wear it to Thanksgiving this year. And then that will be done again. I do really like it, though. Other than the length of the hem, I thought it fit great. So I'm really pleased with how it turned out. And honestly, I do really like it as a pattern, so I think I would like to have it in a couple of other colors. So I may go back to this pattern again and knit a couple more. Okay, so I do have a couple of whips that I'll share with you. So this first one, this is in my Daisy Lane Design bag with her cute little daisy tag there, which is Allison, who I have also met. She and Paige work closely together. And it has my favorite pin, the Just One More pin, which turns. I love that pin. So this is housing a new project for me that I meant to knit this summer and didn't because I lost my mojo. So Earth Tones Girl, which is Denise, and Treehouse Knits, which is Rachel, both of whom I got to hang out with at Needles Up at Rhinebeck. They were co-hosting a summer mitten knit along, and that's what I had gotten this yarn for and was planning to make. So it's been sitting caked up since July, I think. And I hadn't gotten around to doing anything with it. But I have cast it on now. So this is my cuff. You may notice that I am working on it with the floats on the outside. I started working on it. Well, I started working on it on DPNs and, the normal way. And the tension was all wrong with my color work. It just wasn't working out well. So I decided to cast it on again with Magic Loop and restart it. And now there's the normal way. And now what I'm doing is I'm knitting it inside out. I'm still knitting this the normal way, but on Magic Loop, you usually work on the front row, and I'm working on the back row, or the row that's furthest from me. So what that allows me to do is carry the yarn on the outside, which kind of gives the floats a natural, stretch, not a stretch, but it carries the floats around naturally. They don't want to bunch up. So I found that is working way better for me. So I'm going to keep going. Obviously I haven't made it very far. And this is, I haven't been working on it this week either because I've been working on my other project. But I'm hoping that I keep that tension in my color work better this way than, the way I first attempted to do it. I have also done color work in the past where I worked it inside out, but I was actually purling instead of just knitting on the back row. That way I was using Portuguese knitting with like a knitting pin. So if this doesn't work, then I'll try that again because that worked out really well for me. But that was a sweater. It was a much larger, surface area of knitting than this tiny little mitten cuff. So hopefully the theory would work the same, that the tension would work well still for me. But yeah, we'll see. If I have to try that method, I will. But I'm going to try sticking with this for now and see how it goes. But the yarn that I'm using is Legacy Fiber Arts. This was a kit that they put together. It's blowing out a little bit. It's not quite that red. Well, no, it is. I mean, it's not quite that fluorescent, I guess. But it is a very red, orangey, pink red. It's called Hot Tomato. And then this is the natural color that goes with it. And it has a little bit of red streaks in it, like very pale, which I think is really cool. But these two together, these are going to be the colors for my mitts. And I'm doing the Flora pattern, which is by Skein Deer Knits, which is Ellie. Since it was for the summer knit along, I picked it because the flower on the pattern kind of looks like a sunflower. So it reminded me of summer. But now it's November, and I'm knitting it now. So whatever, it's fine. And then the other project that I'm working on is it's a sample, shop sample for Paige. When I can't think of what I want to knit for myself, then a shop sample is a good thing to do because then I get to work on it. But it's not something that I'm committing to for myself. Which is great, especially like money-wise. If I want to knit a sweater, I really have to make sure that I know I want to have that sweater because the sweater's quantity of yarn is a big financial investment. With a shop sample, Paige is providing the yarn and I'm giving her back the finished product anyway. So I get the experience of knitting the sweater and I get the experience of knitting a sweater that is much smaller than what would fit me because it just needs to be a shop sample. So that's what I'm on right now. This is a Fat Squirrel bag. I picked this up at Needles Up this year. It's got like sleepy sheep on it. They're smiling sheep. I don't know how well let me see if this will focus. They've got little smiles on their faces. And the moons and the stars. It's really cute. So like I said, I picked that up at Needles Up. I love this size. I have another one that I picked up at Needles Up in Maryland, and it's in use all the time. So I knew when I went back this year, I wanted to, or to this festival, still the same year as Maryland, that I wanted to pick up another one this size. And I'll probably get another one each time I go because they're a really great bag. I mean, they're super well constructed. And they're just the perfect size for, a large shawl or a sweater or practically anything. I love having tons of room in my project bags. Okay, this is probably going to look slightly different than it did just a couple seconds ago because I was recording and apparently it was storing to my phone memory instead of the SD card, and that filled up. So fortunately, I realized it pretty much right away. So I haven't recorded a ton and lost it. But I did have to, mess with my phone. So I had to put it back, and it's probably not exactly where it was before. But okay, let me see what I was talking about at the time. I believe I had already shown the bag. So I was talking about this sweater that I'm knitting. So it's called Origami. I don't know who the designer is, but I'll put the link below. I am knitting this out of Malabrigo Rios. It's knit bottom up, so the hem here is made out of natural, and then water green is what I'm striping with. And then the top part has like a ribbed collar, and then it starts like here and goes up, or maybe like here. I don't know. We'll see. And that is a darker color that we're using Winter Lake. And I say we because when I was at Paige's shop last week and we were looking through patterns that she would want me to knit and I would want to, to do the knitting process for, we were picking out the pattern and picking out the yarn, and this is what we landed on. So the original pattern is black and gray and white, I think. So it's like gray and white in the stripes and then black in the collar. And this is, more of a beach theme looking thing because Paige's shop is right on the beach at Jersey Shore. So, yeah, I'm enjoying knitting it. I like that the stripes are keeping it kind of interesting because otherwise it's just inches and inches of stockinette, which, is what a lot of sweaters are. It just can get kind of boring. But yeah, I like how this is turning out so far. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the finished object looks like. I don't know if I got this in the recording or not, but I said one nice thing about knitting shop samples is that you can knit the smallest size, which I never knit if I'm knitting it for myself. But if I really like the end result, then I know that this is a sweater I may want to knit for myself. So I like that element of, being able to help out and provide a shop sample, but also, find out without wasting the resources, especially the money on buying a sweater's quantity worth of yarn for myself, if I'd actually like this sweater in the end. So that's what I'm working on now. And then I am keeping my yarn, one of the yarns at least, in a ball sack. I haven't had one of these in a while. They've kind of been sitting in some of my project bags. This is by Roberta, who is Steel City Stitcher, one of my favorite project bag makers. I've got one in here because, it just keeps my yarn ball nice and neat. And I'd put the other one in, but I need to find another ball sack. I have another one hiding somewhere in my project bags. So that is that sweater. I have really been on a sweater kick lately. I'm really enjoying knitting sweaters. I'm also enjoying wearing sweaters. The Bloomsbury I've worn and I'm planning to wear again. I just wore my Bright Heart that I had finished. I think it was the Bright Heart. I wore that to Rhinebeck, and then I wore it again this weekend at that was one of the things I did. But anyway, my uncle had it his 70th birthday, and so there was a surprise party that we went to. But I wore my Bright Heart there. And then my Evelyn cardigan, I wear that a lot. My Gretna jumper. So I've been on a kick of making sweaters and actually being able to wear them, which is nice. So I'm going to be casting on another sweater soon, but what I'm going to do is salvage the yarn from a sweater that I knit last year that I don't wear. So this is my worsted boxy. You can see it's huge. It's a gigantic sweater, which it's supposed to be. I mean, it's supposed to be a boxy sweater that's supposed to hang loose, and it just isn't flattering on me. And it's a lot of yarn. So all of this yarn to not get used is just like a crime against humanity. Um, and I love this yarn. It's mostly blue, but it's got these amazing colors in it. Like you've got hot pink and neon green and just these really cool speckles. So I love this yarn. I think it's Cascade Hand Painted, I think is what it's called. I'll try and find it. But I'm going to rip out this sweater. I'm going to undo it, reskein the yarn, and then I'm going to do something else with it. I think that what I'm probably going to work on is the I Heart Cardigans. I think it's I Heart Cardigans by Tanis Fiber Arts or Fiber Company. Cat, no. Just playing with a paper bag that has my Rhinebeck purchases in it. It's a very cable-y sweater, which I think is still going to work with this yarn. Sometimes cables and speckles don't go very well together, but this is, I don't know. I'm going to try it. I might swatch with it first and make sure that the cables work well with the speckles. But yeah, that's my plan. And probably today. I'm going to rip out the yarn for this today. And then the rest of my day I'm going to spend stitching because I've already started. Cat, oh my gosh. So those are my projects that I'm working on. I've totally lost the flow of this podcast because the cat keeps interrupting me. I lost my, the memory thing. Anyway, so we'll wrap up with a Rhinebeck recap. I'm not going to go over everything, but I do want to show you some of my favorite purchases. So like I said, I went up to Needles Up, so I actually did leave on Friday morning to drive up. It's a pretty long drive. I think it was 3 to 4 hours, somewhere in there. I forgot to grab the Easy Pass out of my husband's car, or I don't know, it was in the wrong car. I took my husband's car. I forgot to grab it out of the van. And then I didn't feel like driving to his work to grab it, and I regret that decision. So if I go next year and I've forgotten the Easy Pass, I'm taking the time to go and get it because there's a lot of tolls between my house and where Rhinebeck is. So definitely next year the Easy Pass. I forgot everything though. I was going to bring up my little EEW mini spinning wheel to look at it with some of my spinning friends. Totally forgot to do that. I didn't bring my giant "Hello, my name is Elizabeth Zimmerman" button. I left that at home. I grabbed a Ziploc bag that I have full of my pins. And I thought, I saw that I had business cards in there too, but I only had a dozen. So I didn't bring more business cards. So yeah, I was just a mess. I did not bring hardly anything that I wanted to. But whatever, I made it through. It was a lot of fun to go to the festival. I'm glad I went. I'm definitely planning on going back next year. It was very crowded, so I'm glad that I was staying through Sunday because Sunday was a much more relaxed day and it was a better day for doing actual shopping. Saturday was more experience things and walk around and meet people. Oh, I had so much fun meeting people. That was definitely the highlight. Just being able to run into people that you only see or interact with online. It was great to be able to meet people in person. But yeah, let me show you some of my favorite purchases. Sorry, there's bag crinklage. It's totally word crinklage. So from Needles Up, like I said, I got the Fat Squirrel bag. I also picked up some yarn from Legacy Fiber Arts from Sue and Chelsea. And I got to meet Chelsea this time. I've met Sue before. And Dave Stokes, but I got to meet Chelsea and her husband this time, which I hadn't met them before, so that was a lot of fun. But I picked up 2 skeins of, what's it called, candy corn, I think? Yeah, candy corn on Cozy Toes, which is their merino cashmere nylon blend. There's that. It's got some really fun fall colors in there, which I really like. I also picked up some chapstick from Tuft Woolens. I love their chapstick. They have an espresso vanilla that I've gotten before, and I think my couch ate it. I haven't been able to find it. So I got another one of those. And I also got one in lemon. It's delightful. And then I picked up some fiber from the Classy Squid Fiber Company. I picked up one of her one-of-a-kind bats. So it's got some really cool colors in there. There's like neon green and pinks. I think this one's called Under the Sea. Under the Sea. Um, and it's got some bamboo in it and some, I don't even know, Romney and Wensleydale and Shetland. It's got some really cool fibers in it. So I'm looking forward to using that. And then at the festival itself, a couple of the things that I got some more fiber. This was from Fin Sheep. They're in the 2-level barn. They were in the lower level. It doesn't say what the content is, but I really like the color, so that's why I picked it up anyway. So a really pretty blue and green blend. So I got that. I also got some chocolates from their stall. One of them is vodka chocolates. I still haven't broken them out yet, but they seem really cool to try. And this was actually my first purchase. I picked up a lighter drop spindle. I have an Ashford, which is pretty heavy, and I wanted to be able to spin some finer yarns. So I picked up a pretty light drop spindle here, and it's gorgeous. Like, the wood is just really, really pretty. Got some really pretty stripes in it, and yeah, it's just really pretty. So this is from Mill Point Emporium. It's I don't know how to say this, Cocobolo and Zebra Wood. It's a hand-turned top whirl drop spindle made of native and exotic woods. It's 0.7 ounces, so that's the weight of it. So yeah, so I picked that up, and I'm really excited to use it. I haven't used it yet, but this is basically the reason that I was getting fiber. I knew I was going to get another drop spindle. That was on my list of things to get. So I picked those up. Those fibers up. And then another of my favorite purchases, I love this vendor. She's new to me. I'd never seen her stuff before. Her name, or her Etsy shop name, and I don't know her actual name, I should probably find that out, is Wee Ones Creations, and I'm missing one of them. That's why I'm looking around. There it is. I had it between the pages of my notes. There we go. Okay, so she does little clay stitch markers and progress keepers and whatnot. So this is a set of stitch markers. I already took one off because I'm using it currently. But they're these tiny little hedgehogs. They're so cute. So there's 4 of them that came in the set. She's got some right now that have Christmas hats that I'm really tempted to get. But I probably don't need more hedgehogs. So I got those, and then I also got some progress keepers that are little alpaca. And there's like little different colors. Hello, cat. There we go. So they're super cute. So she's got some really cute sets. I was torn. There were like 5 different sets that I wanted to get that I don't need, but I really wanted. Hello, kitty. And there was like a cheese set that I wanted to get, and some like a vegetables. She had little pea pod and other vegetables. It was just, she's got some really, really cute stuff. So you should just definitely check her out. It's weones.etsy.com is where you can find her. And she does have an Instagram account that you should follow. This is Sunspot. She came for a visit. She hates being held. She loves to sit on my lap, but she doesn't like this. Huh. Okay, so that's it for me. I hope that I will record in another 2 weeks, but if not, I'll record when I record. You know, this is fun. It's to do for fun. So if it feels like work, then it's not fun. So I'm going to get back to the rest of my day off. I've got my sweater that I want to pull the yarn out of, and I've got some stitching that I want to work on. So I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your week, and hopefully I will see you next time. Bye!